Nice to meet you, brother.
And you.
Real pleasure. How do you find being here, man? Like my kind of understanding of it would be like this. Maybe you see it differently, so tell me if you do. Because I see this as a massive injustice being done. I see it as these are innocent, vulnerable beings. They've never done anything wrong, and we mutilate them, we torture them, and we take their lives, and we do it for no better reason than just for a snack. And so for me, like now, not before, but now I see it as this huge injustice. And I wonder now, after you being a little bit more exposed to people who are vegan and realizing that you can be healthy as a vegan, because that was the key for me, realizing, well, if we can be healthy as vegans, how can we justify all this harm to the animals? And I wonder now if being a law enforcement officer, like someone who upholds justice, does coming here and seeing these animals going into a slaughterhouse, does that feel conflicting in any way to you?
It makes you think about where you are, from my personal point of view.
Yeah.
And it just makes you think harder about what you eat,
Sure.
and how it's the process that you go through.
Yeah. Had you thought about it much before?
Not really, to be honest.
No, me either, man. Yeah.
But then being around lots of other vegans, you listen, and it's a way of life, isn't it? For you guys, it's a complete way of life, not just a way of life.
Yeah, well, I guess it's a way of life, but it's a simple way of life that I think, you know, like if you look, like there's such a broad range of people here, man, and no one's especially in a epic, like we're just normal people. So it's a way of life, but one that anyone can take on in their own life. Yeah, and I guess when we are people, like obviously yourself, but just in general, almost everybody is a person who doesn't want to cause harm to others and sees themselves as good people. And then you take it even further and you say, you know, if you're an individual who has made it their responsibility to say stop being cruel to others, that is not okay, and you have actually put your own safety on the line to go and help those victims of abuse. Do you feel like there's, in your mind, is the next step to widen that circle of compassion to embrace more than just humans?
In what way?
Well, okay, so for example, right now, I'm sure you would be one of the first people here who would stop a victim of abuse. There's someone screaming next door, you run over, you put your life on the line to help that person. But then probably, I think, because I don't think you're vegan, that you'll go and save that victim of abuse, but then you'll go and pay for, let's say, chicken burger. And that act is, it's slightly indirect, but it's still an act of violence. So like in the morning, you have upheld justice and put your life on the line to stop violence, and then in the lunchtime, you went and you contributed to violence, right? So what I'm asking is, I'll ask two questions. Do you feel like that there's a hypocrisy there that you may not have been aware of before, so that's question one. Is there a hypocrisy there that you may not have been aware of before that you're aware of now? And two, if that is something that you would agree is a hypocrisy, do you feel an obligation to start moving in the direction of rectifying that hypocrisy?
From my personal point of view, I eat meat,
Yeah.
and I don't make that a secret.
No.
And the way I would look at it is, if we're going to go down that process, let's make it as humane as we can, or as quick as possible.
Yeah.
So that bit, for me, hasn't changed. But I respect the fact that you guys think probably completely different to myself. You know, we'll probably never agree on that little bit, but you're one end of the seesaw, on the other, and it's somewhere we have to get somewhere in the middle.
Well, what I'm saying is, I don't think we are on two ends of the seesaw necessarily. I just think we probably have the same values, except that we're aligned in our values when it comes to humans. Neither of us would ever hurt humans, and we both put our safety on the line for humans. Except I'm very grateful that I came into contact with the information that taught me that I was being inconsistent, and I could also extend that compassion to other species. And so what I did was align my beliefs, which is that I'm against cruelty to all beings, not just human beings.
Yep.
And I aligned my beliefs and my actions, and that's why I went vegan. So I think when we're talking about humanely killing, if we talk about it in a human context, you know, if someone said to you, no, relax, I humanely murdered my brother, I'm sure you'd probably say,
we've got different views on this side of things, haven't we? I don't have an issue with it personally from a personal point of view. I eat meat.
No, I know.
You know, and it's a process that we have to go through, and I get your point of view completely.
Okay, so do you think though that then is your answer yes? Like, do you see that there is a hypocrisy there where you're stopping violence on one hand and then contributing on the other? Don't think so? No? You don't think, okay, so you don't think that stopping someone stabbing somebody with a knife, that's good, obviously, but then you don't think that paying someone to stab another individual with a knife later in the day, you don't think that's a little bit
Not for
hypocritical?
my, not for my end of the seesaw.
Really? Or can you explain that? Like, why do you think if that's an unnecessary action of violence, because you know that vegans can be healthy, there's 100 of us almost here, so why do you think then, how is it justified? How is that act of violence justified compared to the other act of violence?
What percentage of the population is vegan compared to non-vegan?
It would probably be, I mean, I've read different numbers, but between 2 and 7%, depending on where you look at in the world.
So why isn't it 7% are meat eaters and not vegan?
Why is it what, sorry?
Why isn't it that 2 to 7% are not meat eaters and everyone else
I know,
is vegan?
that's been my question from day one.
Okay.
I'll tell you why I think it is. Because we've been brought up into a world that has conditioned us to believe that killing some animals, like dogs and dolphins and whales, is wrong, but killing and eating pigs and cows and chickens is right. We've been conditioned to believe that we need protein from meat and we need calcium from dairy. We've been lied to in a lot of ways. And it's blasted everywhere throughout all advertisements all over the place. So I think that people have grown up in a type of ignorance, a forced ignorance, and taught not to care or think about this issue. And now what I think is happening and why we've seen such a boom in veganism is because people are seeing the reality and making that vital connection that if we don't need to kill and eat animals to survive, then what is our justification for it? And that's why I think the percentage is moving in the right direction. But I mean, you know, like, you're a man of the law. There's been a lot of laws, I'm sure we'll be able to agree, that have been unjust in the past. Slavery, the inequality of men and women. In some countries, I think it's okay to rape your wife, if I'm not mistaken. So obviously there's certain laws that need amending, and we have done that in the past, and I'm sure we'll continue to do that. But I guess my point was just, you know, like, and it's not a personal thing against you, because you're right, I'm talking to 97 to 93% of the population when I ask this question. If you are against violence and you would put yourself on the line, or even if you wouldn't, but you're against violence happening to an innocent person, and then later in that day you pay somebody else to stab an animal in the throat, do you not find that a hypocritical way of living? And if you do find that to be a hypocritical stance, that one violence is justified against an innocent being and the other is not, then if you do see that there's some hypocrisy in that, do you feel a moral obligation to amend that as best as you can?
Perhaps I need to think about it more, James.
Yeah, cool. Sweet. That's a great answer. I appreciate your time, Kevin, and I hope you don't feel like I try to put you on the spot, because I didn't. It's a question that I asked myself.
Yeah.
And it was one of the most important questions I've ever asked myself in my life, man, because that was the turning point for me to realize that I am a peaceful, compassionate person. I am against violence to innocent beings. And when I learned that my actions were not in alignment with that, I decided to think about it more as well. And that's how I started moving towards veganism. So thanks heaps, man. I really appreciate your chat. Thanks very much. Thanks,